Hey, my wonderful, beautiful people, a pleasant evening to you. All right, I'm going to talk about a particular topic in just a moment, and I'm going to try and be very objective. I'm going to speak on two ends of the spectrum so that I'm fair in this particular post as it relates to this particular individual. Now, I'm talking about the great Asafa Powell and his recent interview or comments or vlog or post or whatever it may have been that he did as it relates to his children should they want to take up athletics as a career path. He mentioned that his wife is Canadian and Ghanaian, so he would not necessarily tell his children to run for his country or their country out of patriotism per se, unless it is that they're going to be paid. He's not going to encourage them to do any free labor. And additionally, they have the right to choose, running for other countries. And I'm assuming he was relegating it to the fact that his wife is Canadian and Ghanaian. So they could choose to run for Jamaica, they could choose to run for Canada, they could choose to run for Ghana, or wherever it is that the big bucks comes from. He reminisced on how, overseas scouters would have paid him millions, to be a part of their athletic club, to run for them. But I guess at the time he was younger, so he would turn it down because of his patriotism and wanting to do whatever it is, in support of Jamaica, thinking he would have been remunerated. That at the end of the day, when it is time to really retire, you now wind down at a certain age. You don't have to fall back on 9 to 5 after athletic life, because the athletic life is not very long. At best you may go up to 40. I know, with the exception of the great Merlin Ottey, who ran even past that, you won't find the average athlete going beyond 40 years of age. That is when you would really, really officially peak and plateau. So you wouldn't necessarily find a sense of euphoria outside of that age span. So he reminisced, not necessarily with great memory, on the times that he would have run. And a lot of Jamaicans would, say, oh, he only runs for the money races because only the money races he would have won. And unfortunately, when it came to the international races, the races which we consider to matter, the patriotic races, the world races, such as the Olympics and the World Championship, he never seemed to matriculate. He never seemed to spark. He never seemed to cross over the threshold, except for one time. I think that was a 2008 final 100 meter where he came third. I know when Usain just came back fully and completely. Usain won the race, ran 9.69, and then Tyson Gay came second. I think that was a race that Asafa came third. Notwithstanding, he would have contributed to the gold medals in some of the 4x1 races, subsequent or afterwards. But outside of that, individually, he never seemed to have lived too far above zero, and a number of Jamaicans were so disappointed, while many were very elated and ecstatic when Usain came, took that baton and flew right through the gate time and time again until he retired. And Asafa started to talk about the fact that they accused him of running for a lot of races for money. And yes, money is key. And yes, he needed money. And obviously, and everyone would love to be rich and wealthy and famous and everything. But when he ran, he not only ran for himself, but he ran for the colleagues who did not get the sponsorship that they would have required and needed. They did not get the support socially and otherwise. And he did his best. So he ran and won on quite a number of the money races, especially like Diamond League and other, so that he could help his colleagues. And it seems as if a sense of ingratitude and ungratefulness on the part of the Jamaican people and other relevant people was the order of the day. They were not grateful for the fact that he did his best to represent Jamaica in its fullness. He said he was offered millions from overseas scouters, that he turned it down when he was younger because of patriotism, and figured that he would have been taken care of, not knowing that he had to do everything on his own. And I can understand, and if we're critical thinkers, if we have, in all our getting, we get understanding, we should understand where he's coming from. No one wants to know that they give their best and they know they did their best and their best was just not good enough and not received with open arms, with welcoming. But I remember quite a number of the Jamaican people, in all honesty, Asafa, who really, they were a fan of yours. Even sometimes, I wouldn't say to the detriment of you saying, but the love that they had for you, I don't know if it was your body or how you looked or what they perceive as humility. You know, the Jamaican people really loved you, that even when you just could not seem to cross over the threshold as it relates to individual, meaningful races, you know, they still just was looking and saying, oh gosh, what can we do to help this fellow athlete? So quite a number of people, for me, Asafa, would, you know, you were more of a supporter to you in my, especially here in Jamaica. Let me say the Jamaicans, not necessarily overseas people. And I can understand where you're coming from. And any father, anybody who, when you experience trauma and you have children, you are going to do every single thing in your power for that child not to experience similar trauma. And I know that feeling when you think of encounters with people in the workplaces, in churches and other spheres who are horrible. You want to do everything to not let anybody that you care about to go through the same fate. And I can understand where you're coming from. And you are right. I would never tell you as an athlete to take back that, because I wouldn't want to know that, you know, you would want to know that generation wealth and talent passes down. So if your children decide you don't want it to have to be a case where you have to give and invest everything, and when you look, they still don't matriculate and do well. So I do have a good point. If their mother is from another country, they should have that right to choose other countries, not because the father is from a particular one, but they may want to run, and they should run where the money is at. And I can fully understand and perhaps concur. But my encouragement to you, Asafa, is to forgive, learn the lesson, and move forward, not to go back so much in the past. I know that you're hurt. I can understand to an extent, not fully, because I've never been in a situation like that. But one of the things that I know is that sometimes when you give of your best and it is not received with open arms, with gratitude, with thankfulness, it can be very disconcerting and disheartening, to say the very least, when people are not grateful, because truth and in fact you have done greatly for Jamaica, whether or not they want to realize it. You contributed in the 4x1s. You ran the most 9 under 10 or sub 10 races, and back in the day before the whole sub 10, you are considered a very fast runner when you would run 10 flat. You would be considered, and you broke that. You broke that. You were one of the first people or runners or athletes to show records can be broken under 10. And you did that, you know, with ease and effortlessly. And people did cheer you on and they were grateful. You know, it's just that I think that the disappointment became the order of the day, and it became very chronic and acute, that it strangled a little gratitude and thanks that the Jamaican people would have emitted to you. I think the disappointment was so grave, was so much, or so many, so much I should say, that it ended up strangling and straddling the little gratitude and thanks that you should have gotten, and the support that you should have gotten, unfortunately. But my encouragement to you, my dear brother, is to forgive and to let it go. It makes no sense to really and truly bellyache over this anymore, because it, unfortunately, and I say this humbly, it won't change reality. It has happened. You know what I mean? And I would want you to give your children a balanced view in running. Run for loyalty and run for money. Give them a balanced view so that their whole mindset won't be consumed by just money, the Benjamins. All right, my brother, walk good. Guys, You know what to do, read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe, give me one of those likes.